Hello everyone, I am Fabio from ALM Rangers, and in this video we are going to see about effective TFVC branching strategies for DevOps. This is based in an article that you have available in ALM Rangers GitHub page. These links will be available in the description of this video. So to start with this, the intention of this presentation is to answer some questions, and we are going to see in this video kind of hands-on how to implement this. Of course, later you can take a look on the article and see more details about all those things. But if you want to see something more hands-on, in this video you're going to find it. So let's start with the basic things that we must have in mind. The first thing is to keep it simple. So we will start with a very simple branching strategy, and this is mainly based on the main branch, and our iterations will be added on the timeline here. So we can see that as the time goes by, we can see some iterations happening, and then they will uh, be like incrementing and adding more code in your branch, and then it's pointing towards your next version. And then based on that, if you start your project with a main branch, you should think that it's good to have always a continuous integration for your branches, just to do some validation in your code and also test the things that were built. So here we will set like a build called CI build, and then environment for deployment, and then we will trigger them every check-in. So I will jump to my PSTS here, and here we can see that I have that build created. This is a base build. We don't have so fancy things here. It's just based on the template that we have available here. I just created a console application, and then I added here, and I'm building it. And then I created a release definition for it, and we are deploying it on dev environment. So getting back to the presentation, we can see that after we complete a release, we may think in creating a branch called version 1.0. This is kind of a stabilization branch, and then you can do your fixes on it, and then in the end you can go and do some reverse integration merge here to your main branch, and then all your fixes will be applied to the main branch, and you have your fixes applied in your version 1.0 and also in main branch. For this, we must just create a little bit more things here related to build and release definitions. So the main branch still we keep the same as we had before. Then we will add a new branch called version 1.0, and this version 1.0 will be our release candidate build, and then it will be deployed to dev, QA, UAT staging in prod environments. These definitions you may change, but it's good to keep some kind of standard for your projects and to don't get lost on this, and always keep the meaning of those environments very clear for everyone. So if I go back to my STS here, we have our release candidate build. This is also pointing to our release definition here, that we have 5 environments. So when I'm in the phase to stabilize my software, let's say in the version 1.0, then I have the possibility to start with dev environment, promote it to QA, run some tests here, and also send to UAT. Then the user can take a look and and see if the code or if the features are as expected. Then once it's approved, it goes to a staging area or the staging environment that we have here, that may be very similar to prod, and then you can have a better idea or how it will work in prod. It should be very similar. Then you can do some tests here as well. And when everything is okay, is staging, it means that you can promote it to prod. Um, okay, this is very quick and simple explanation. It may vary project by project, but let's say that you can here define approvers and define more fancy things on between the stages. And then you define also how to promote your environments to prod or not. Okay, going back to our article here, we have the next phase, which is like keeping two versions together. Like we have a version 2 that will become the release candidate. In this case, our version 2 here will become the release candidate build. We'll have all those environments for it, and then our previous version will become our hotfix build. So it will have a special pipeline here that we are going to use only in case that we have to do some hotfixes. And then we can have this control separated by version. And of course, you may define how many versions are you going to keep for your software. It should be clear, like you're going to keep 2-3 versions back. And then in the future, when the new versions are coming, and you must retire the old versions. This is quite important to know that you shouldn't like keep like all versions all together. It will increase the complexity of your maintenance, and it can be very tricky in the future to keep it. So let's keep, in this case, we are keeping only 2 versions available, and then we can do this setup like I did here. I created the hotfix build, and then here the hotfix build is deployed to hotfix staging in prod environment. This prod is different of this, of course. It may be like different URLs or maybe different servers. It's up to you to define how you define when or how to reach some specific version in this case. Okay. So going back to the presentation that I have here, we can also say that we may extend as needed. So here we have, for example, our main version 1 and 2 here working together, and also we have feature branch here, which is maybe a bigger feature that will not impact development that you are doing in main, and sometimes you must isolate it, and you can do that, and that's okay. You can do this way. It should always have some start date and end date for your feature, and this branch should disappear in the moment that you merge it to your main. Then now we are going to take a look hands-on using Visual Studio and creating this kind of structure that we have here, and then simulate some changes and things that may happen during the development. So the first thing that I'm going to do here, I have my project main version 1 and 2 running. Let's say that I have a new feature to be done. So I will create a new branch here called feature 2. So my feature 2 branch will be here to isolate my development for a while. And let's say we had this feature 2 branch running for 1 month, and things smaller than 1 month were added directly in main branch. So here I will just open my solution and I will do some changes. During this month of development of feature 1, we added some code here. Then it was like 1 month of development here. A lot of code. Okay, and then here we have the same code as we had in main. Main, we started, or when we branched main to feature 2, we had still the hot fixes. So it started in the hot fixes here. But then, of course, in 1 month, main branch had more check-ins. And let's go to my main branch. And here I will open my main branch code. And then here in main, let's simulate that we have other iterations. So let's consider that we have iterations of like 1 week. So we have more 4 iterations here. So then we end up like this. This piece of code is not available in the feature branch, only in main branch. Okay, have it here. It's time to then merge. Like we reached this point where we finished, so we will have to do a reverse integration from feature branch to our main. And the idea is to not lose any code. Then most likely to merge it for us. If not, it will show a window to help us to do the merge. So quickly I go here and then I go merge. It will already select the feature 2 and main branch as the parent. Then just next finish here, and then it showed the nice message that there is a conflict. So the code has changed in both branches in the same file and maybe in the same location of the file. That's why it could have some conflicts. And then looking here, we can understand, like if you consider that our development is always done in main, we can consider that the main part is okay. And if we have this concept that our feature branches, when done, they are fully done, and you can simply go here and select the code that we have there. If you have some conflict that the code was changed in some specific method and they are conflicting each other and you don't have how to figure out what's the difference or what's the newest one, then the developer could be called here. But in this case, if you follow this strategy, always add good code in main. Usually you won't lose any code in main at least. And then you can pick the rest of code that are in the feature branch. So this is kind of complication, if we can say like that, that could happen when you have like some parallel development. So that's why usually it's nice to avoid, if possible, doing that. So then I just merged to my main here, and here if I open my code, we can see both codes on my project file or program file here. Altogether we have the iterations and 1 month of features also here. Good. And then done that, when I just checked in my files, my builds were triggered also. So we were using main branch. So my continuous integration build was triggered here every time we checked in. So here we should see several builds running as we checked in at least twice. So here we have 2 builds Yep. And then still we are running the last one here. And then once it's done, we are going to release that. So here we have this build 5.7 down here, and here we will be able to see a new release being running from my release management. So here we can see we have our release 10 already queued here. So it will deploy automatically my build. Okay, now let's go to the last part of this demo here. If we consider that we have in our demo two versions, version 1 and version 2, now I'm going to do some bug fix in version 1, and then also I'm going to do some changes in version 2 and see how our build and our deployment pipeline is working. In my Visual Studio, here, I just go and we'll jump here to my version 1. So by version 1 is supposed to be the production version that are currently available, and it was found some fixes that should be applied here. So I will apply here 2 hot fixes, or three hot fixes is better, 2, 3, and 4. And then for this one, I will consider it ready here. Then what it will do in this case when I check in, here I'm going to do the builds in these changes that I did. Now if I go to my VSTS here, I can see my build running as a hotfix. Once it's finished, it will go and it will release a hotfixes for me. It will start in my dev environment, and it goes till prod here. So it will like simulate that we're having like verifications here, approvals, and so on. In my sample, it's going straight here from hotfixes stage and in prod, but we could add some approvals here. And then let's say we consider that this hotfixes is succeeded and it's working fine. So it's time to do the reverse integration to our main branch here. And let's do it. So from here I go and do a merge. It will pick here version 1 and name automatically. And as our main branch had some changes, so it should show supposed to show some like conflicting error here. So then we're going to use the merge tool so to see exactly what happened. So in our main we have more iterations that was run. So we had these changes for iterations. We had 1 month of implementation for our feature, so this will be included. And we know that our main usually is tested and the code is good, but then we should consider here our hotfixes. So I have 3 hotfixes to be applied. So then I'm just adding it here and accepting the merge. So doing that, I'm able to check in my code. Now everything, the hotfixes from version 1 are in our main branch, and it's already there in my latest version. Of course, if you have some hotfixes that you applied in version 1 that are not good for main branch or to do the merge back, you shouldn't do that. But usually, if you find a bug in a version, it can be applied in main branch, unless it was a very old version. But that's why you shouldn't keep like very old versions. All right, and now if you go to the other branch that you have here, let's consider that our version 2 here is our release candidate. So we have our release candidate here. It's still in stabilization mode, and we are adding code yet here. And here we found some fixes to be done, and we found some features to be improved and so on. So here I can add in this version 2. So I will put here version 2 improvements. And that's it. And once I check in this code, it will also start a build for me. So let's see my kill here. So in my kill, still I'm building the previous build, the continuous integration build for our main branch. And here, once it's updated, it should show another build triggered for our release candidate. So considering this, we can go and see our releases. What's happening here? From here, we will be able to see if the releases is happening. If it's not showing here, it means that the releases are most likely they are queued and they're waiting for some available agent. And we will see that it will be available soon to our environments. All right, so here we have a queued build for, or queued release for our continuous integration build. And for our hotfix here, we can see that we already had one build deployed here in our hotfix. That's good. For my release candidate, still I'm waiting to finish the build for it. So here it's finishing it. So once my build here it's closed and succeeded, like it is already, it should show here a new release starting. So just now it has started a new release. So my code we start in this dev environment, and then later it will be promoted to QA, UAT, and all those environments that are required to verify if the code is proper and good. And then it can end up in our production for our release candidate. So now it's deployed already in dev. So here in dev, we may have like some tests done here and some approvals to be done in the end, and then it can trigger the next step here, or the next environment deploy. So this is what's happening, and this is how it's done. And considering that we have this model, once you finish the fixes or the improvements that you have done in your version 2, you should go here to your source code and merge it back to your main. So once you do that, you go to your merge tool, and then you can verify what you should keep. So as the main, I know that we just added some code, and this code is valid still. We have the hotfixes applied in the version 1, and then I'm adding version 2 improvements here, and our main has both of them. At this moment, my version 2 doesn't have the hotfixes from version 1, and our version 1 doesn't have version 2 improvements because they are two major versions. So sometimes, usually, you don't need to mix them. But if you need or if you wish, you can apply the hotfixes to the version 2 and some changes from version 2 to the version 1, but I really wouldn't recommend to do so. So you have to know exactly what you're doing when you decide to move the code or the fixes from one version to another. It could give you kind of a lot of problems if you do that by mistake, or if you do not know exactly what you're doing. So done that, I can just finish it, and then my build for the main branch will start. All tests will be done here for me in the build, and then also it will be deployed. And at actually this time, this version will have all hot fixes and release candidate fixes, improvements applied in our main, and everything will be up to date. Great. Considering that, we finished the demonstration here, and from this I can just finalize the presentation, show you here our article. You can take a look more details on this, and here you have kind of checklists and lessons from this. So you have some conclusions, what to do, what not to do, and I really recommend you take a look on that. Also, you can find on the internet on these articles about DevOps, and here you can see that you have a long list of links that you can use and have some really practical guidance in some specific topics. I really recommend to do that. So these two links will be on the description of this video. Feel free to go and navigate on them, and then feel free to ask your questions, and see you on the next video.